Chapter 8. There was a letter from Hackmuth in my box. I knew it was from Hackmuth. I could tell a Hackmuth letter from a mile away. I could feel a Hackmuth letter, and it felt like an icicle sliding down my spine. Mrs. Hargraves handed me the letter. I grabbed it out of her hand. Good news, she said, because I owed her so much rent. You never can tell, I said, but it's from a great man. He could send blank pages and it would be good news to me. But I knew it wasn't good news in the sense that Mrs. Hargraves meant it, for I hadn't sent Mighty Hackmuth a story. This was merely the answer to my long letter a few days ago. He was very prompt, that Hackmuth. He dazzled you with his speed. You no sooner dropped a letter in the mailbox down on the corner, and when you got back to the hotel, there was his answer. Ah, me. But his letters were so brief. A 40-page letter, and he replied in one small paragraph. But that was fine in its way, because his replies were easier to memorize and know by heart. He had a way, that Hackmuth. He had a style. He had so much to give. Even his commas and semicolons had a way of dancing up and down. I used to tear the stamps off his envelopes, peel them off gently to see what was under them. I sat on the bed and opened the letter. It was another brief message, no more than 50 words. It said, Dear Mr. Bandini, with your permission, I shall remove the salutation and ending of your long letter and print it as a short story for my magazine. It seems to me you have done a fine job here. I think The Long Lost Hills would serve as an excellent title. My check is enclosed. Sincerely yours, J.C. Hackmuth. The letter slipped from my fingers and zigzagged to the floor. I stood up and looked in the mirror. My mouth was wide open. I walked to Hackmuth's picture on the opposite wall and put my fingers on the firm face that looked out at me. I picked the letter up and read it again. I opened the window, climbed out, and lay in the bright hillside grass. My fingers clawed the grass. I rolled upon my stomach, sank my mouth into the earth, and pulled the grass roots with my teeth. Then I started to cry. Oh God, Hackmuth, how can you be such a wonderful man? How is it possible? I climbed back to my room and found the check inside the envelope. It was $175. I was a rich man once more. $175. Arturo Bandini, author of The Little Dog Laughed and The Long Lost Hills. I stood before the mirror once more, shaking my fist defiantly. Here I am, folks. Take a look at a great writer. Notice my eyes, folks, the eyes of a great writer. Notice my jaw, folks, the jaw of a great writer. Look at those hands, folks, the hands that created The Little Dog Laughed and The Long Lost Hills. I pointed my index finger savagely. And as for you, Camilo Lopez, I want to see you tonight. I want to talk to you, Camilo Lopez. And I warn you, Camilo Lopez, remember that you stand before none other than Arturo Bandini, the writer. Remember that, if you please. Mrs. Hargraves cast the check. I paid my back rent and 2 months' rent in advance. She wrote out a receipt for the full amount. I waved it aside. Please, I said, don't bother, Mrs. Hargraves. I trust you completely. She insisted. I put the receipt in my pocket, then I laid an extra $5 on the desk. For you, Mrs. Hargraves, because you've been so nice. She refused it. She pushed it back. Ridiculous, she said. But I wouldn't take it. I walked out, and she hurried after me, chased me into the street. Mr. Bandini, I insist you take this money. Pooh, a mere $5, a trifle. I shook my head. Mrs. Hargraves, I absolutely refused to take it. We haggled, stood in the middle of the sidewalk under the hot sun, and argued. She was adamant. She begged me to take it. I smiled quietly. No, Mrs. Hargraves, I'm sorry. I never changed my mind. She walked away, pale with anger, holding the $5 bill between her fingers as though she was carrying a dead mouse. I shook my head. $5. A pittance as far as Arturo Bandini, author of numerous stories for J.C. Hackmuth, was concerned. I walked downtown, fought my way through the hot, cramped streets to the May Company basement. It was the finest suit of clothes I ever bought. a brown pinstripe with 2 pairs of pants. Now I could be well dressed at all times. I bought two-tone brown and white shoes, a lot of shirts, and a lot of socks, and a hat. My first hat, dark brown, real felt with a white silk lining. The pants had to be altered. I told them to hurry. It was done in a little while. I changed behind a curtained stall, put on everything new with the hat to top it off. The clerk wrapped my old clothes in a box. I didn't want them. I told them to call up the Salvation Army, to give them away, and to deliver the other purchases to my hotel. On the way out, I bought a pair of sunglasses. I spent the rest of the afternoon buying things, killing time. I bought cigarettes, candy, and candied fruit. I bought 2 reams of expensive paper, rubber bands, paper clips, notepads, a small filing cabinet, and a gadget for punching holes in paper. I also bought a cheap watch, a bed lamp, a comb, toothbrushes, toothpaste, hair lotion, shaving cream, skin lotion, and a first aid kit. I stopped at a tie shop and bought ties, a new belt, a watch chain, handkerchiefs, bathrobe, and bedroom slippers. Evening came and I couldn't carry any more. I called the taxi and rode home. I was very tired. Sweat soaked through my new suit and crawled down my leg to my ankles. But this was fun. I took a bath, rubbed the lotion into my skin, and washed my teeth with the new brush and paste. Then I shaved with the new cream and doused my hair with the lotion. For a while, I sat around in my bedroom slippers and bathrobe, put away my new paper and gadgets, smoked good, fresh cigarettes, and ate candy. The delivery man from the May Company brought the rest of my purchases in a big box. I opened it and found not only the new stuff, but also my old clothes. These I tossed into the wastebasket. Now it was time to dress again. I got into a pair of new shorts, a brand new shirt, socks, and the other pair of pants. Then I put on a tie and my new shoes. Standing at the mirror, I tilted my hat over on eye and examined myself. The image in the glass seemed only vaguely familiar. I didn't like my new tie, so I took off my coat and tried another. I didn't like the change either. All at once, everything began to irritate me. The stiff collar was strangling me. The shoes pinched my feet. The pants smelled like a clothing store basement and were too tight in the crotch. Sweat broke out at my temples where the hat band squeezed my skull. Suddenly I began to itch, and when I moved, everything crackled like a paper sack. My nostrils picked up the powerful stench of lotions, and I grimaced. Mother in heaven, what had happened to the old Bandini, author of The Little Dog Laughed? Could this hog-tied, strangling buffoon be the creator of the long-lost hills? I pulled everything off, washed the smells out of my hair, and climbed into my old clothes. They were very glad to have me again. They clung to me with cool delight, and my tormented feet slipped into the old shoes as into the softness of spring grass.